G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you're doing well, and thank you for tuning in. Now sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's just get right into it. Posted by user 067 Step on Me Please, titled, Am I the butthole for refusing to take over my wife's household chores? I, 34 male, recently had a heated argument with my pregnant wife, 30 female, and I'm wondering if I'm the asshole here. After a year of trying, my wife is currently 7 months pregnant with our first child, but it hasn't been smooth sailing. She's been dealing with morning sickness, fatigue, and other pregnancy-related challenges. I've been supportive, buying her cravings, and attending all OB/GYN appointments. However, things changed when she started expecting me to do more around the house. I want to clarify that I'm not a misogynist. I understand that household chores can be shared, but in our household, it's been our arrangement that she handles most of them. I work a demanding full-time job, and I often come home exhausted. However, my wife believes that since she's pregnant, I should take on the majority of the household chores. She insists that she needs more rest and less stress for the sake of our baby. I provide for us financially, and I believe that should be enough. The baby would be more affected by growing up in a poverty-stricken home, right? I think it's fair for her to handle most of the chores since she's not working and she's not physically incapable of doing them. I understand that she may need naps or breaks due to pregnancy discomfort, but not doing any chores at all seems excessive. We had a huge fight the other day when she asked me to do the laundry. I was tired after work, and I told her that it was her responsibility if she wanted it done that night. I explained that I would be willing to help on the weekends, but it's not my agreed-upon role. She got upset, accusing me of not caring about her or the baby. I tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. She claims the baby will suffer if she does housework, which I don't understand. She called me selfish, saying I shirk my responsibilities as a husband and a father. I argued that she was being lazy and expecting too much. We didn't speak for the rest of the evening. The next day, seeking advice, I talked to friends and family who all sided with me. They said my wife was being unreasonable and taking advantage. They agreed I was already doing enough by providing financially. Feeling validated, I confronted my wife and shared what others had said. She got angrier, accusing me of twisting the situation to make myself look good. She claimed I was surrounded by biased people who didn't understand her challenges as women. I'm frustrated and hurt. I genuinely believe that I'm not in the wrong. I work hard to support our family, and we have agreed upon household roles. She never mentioned her pregnancy involving me taking over chores. I fear this will escalate when the baby is born, and I don't have time for that. I think she's being unreasonable and is expecting too much. Am I the asshole? I'm gonna have to say yes in this situation because she's 7 months pregnant and has been dealing with a range of things that have made this more difficult than it needs to be. I think that you should start picking up the slack around the house and helping your wife out more. I thank you for coming to strangers to ask for help and not just doubling down on your own opinions and thoughts on this situation. But yeah, absolutely, for your current trend of behavior, and if it does continue into the future, you are the asshole and you would be the asshole for that. In the comments, Imaginary Sunday says, You're the asshole. She's heavily pregnant for crying out loud. She's uncomfortable and exhausted 24/7. This isn't about you. Your partner is asking for support, and you've not only made it clear that you won't step up to support her with everyday things that she's clearly struggling to do, but you deliberately sought out opinions of others so you could try to convince her that she's being unreasonable. Stop gaslighting your partner and grow up. Yes, you're tired and have a lot of responsibilities, but instead of getting butthurt about it, this is your turn to step up for your partner when they need you. If you can't manage this much before your kid is even born, good luck in parenthood. OP replies, I agree she's exhausted, but she's not as uncomfortable as you make it out to be. She goes for walks in the morning with her friends and can still function throughout the day. She seems perfectly capable of doing all the other chores and only takes a nap once in the afternoon. Her pregnancy is going pretty well right now, that we have gotten past the morning sickness stage. My point is, she doesn't seem that exhausted, except for when it's time to do the chores, when she's all of a sudden fatigued and asks me after 9.5 hours of work plus commute to do all of them for her. Sparkle Sparkle Meow says, So, just to give you some perspective, I'm currently 6 months pregnant, and it's taken a huge toll on my body physically. My center of gravity has changed, so I'm a lot more clumsy. When I lift a basket of laundry, it pulls on the ligaments in my stomach and leaves pains for the rest of the day. I'm peeing all of the time, accidentally starting to fall asleep standing sometimes, still triggered and throw up from time to time. On top of that, on the days when I've pushed myself too hard, either through exercise or through doing house chores, I get a migraine that lasts for a day and doesn't go away with any paracetamol. On top of all of this, sleep has become rough from about the 3rd month. It's painful in certain positions, and on top of that, I haven't had a solid 8-hour sleep in ages. I'm sure there are so many more symptoms that I've had that I'm forgetting. Your wife is not trying to be lazy or not help the home. She's probably really struggling physically and needs you to help her. Too much stress on the body does actually affect the baby, because your body is also trying to take care of you. I really think that you should research or watch some videos on the experience as a pregnant woman and show your wife that you're trying to put yourself in her shoes. So far, it doesn't sound like you're trying to empathize with her experience. She is doing a huge job for your family by creating this baby for you and then dealing with all of the postpartum trauma and hardship. Think about it this way too. Women get paid to carry babies for couples as a job, as a surrogate. Your wife is doing that for you. She's really in a way doing several jobs: cleaner, house manager, and pregnancy. With how you've reacted to her and treated her, right now, you're the butthole. OP replies, "Genuinely, thank you so much for this comment. I asked my wife about this and if she felt any of this, and she told me that she did, and I realized I was just so blind and inconsiderate. I did do my research and watch some videos, but I mostly talked to my wife and truthfully asked her what she wanted. Please leave me any more notes or help if I can under my update. I've opened my eyes now." Update. So it turns out my brother-in-law is pretty active here. Hi, Rob. So my wife confronted me after discovering my previous post, and I want to share the outcome of our conversation. I made a mistake by assuming that she wasn't or was barely struggling with her pregnancy due to a lack of open communication. She rightfully called me out for dismissing her feelings in the past, and it hit me hard. We had a 2-hour conversation where she expressed her experiences and challenges, and I realized how wrong I was for assuming she was okay when she wasn't. Thank you for all the mums who commented under the original post too. It really shocked me. We also discussed our vision for parenting, and she made me aware that prioritizing work would mean minimal time with our child. This resonated with me as I grew up with an absent father and really don't want the same for my child. We talked about tasks that she could comfortably do, considering her physical limitations, like washing dishes and folding clothes while sitting. In return, I agreed to help with everything else, such as mopping, gardening, cooking, making the bed, and doing the laundry. I realized that rigid roles in the household were problematic, especially with a baby on the way. We need to be flexible and support each other as needed. To those who called me out for appearing sexist, it was never my intention. The situation stemmed from a lack of communication and empathy on my part, which I now recognize. I promised to her to learn from this experience and to be a better partner. Also, not an excuse, but I've been so obsessed with work these past few months as I just got a promotion, and I think that's why I've been so blind. If I proceeded like this, I know for a fact that my children would suffer and I would live to regret it. I apologized profusely to my wife because holy shit, I was an idiot. We considered hiring a nanny, but my wife isn't comfortable with the idea yet. Instead, my sister will help out occasionally. To actively participate in parenting, I will take paternity leave in about a month. It's the bare minimum, but it shows my commitment to being more involved and supportive. Lastly, we are thrilled to announce that we'll be welcoming a baby girl into our lives. I want to apologize deeply to my wife, the Reddit community, and anyone affected by my previous post. I've learned valuable lessons about communication, empathy, and understanding during this transformative time. Thank you for holding me accountable and offering support and guidance. In the comments, Stoat King says, "When I read, 'I provide for us financially, and I believe that should be enough, the baby would be more affected by growing up in a poverty-stricken home, right?' My immediate thought was, well, that's your marriage effed. I'm very glad that it didn't turn out that way and that OP saw sense. It doesn't happen that often in posts like this. The ability to admit that you were wrong seems to be surprisingly rare. You don't have to look past Reddit itself to find endless examples. This has cheered me up regardless. Good luck to them. My immediate thought was that providing for a child is the minimum a parent needs to do. If you actually want to be good at something in life, you need to do more than the minimum. I laugh so hard at all these schmucks who are like, I work a long day and commute, and now she expects me to do chores too? Like, what the hell do you think single people do, buddy? I work a full-time job and I also clean and cook for myself and care for my pets. Like, that's the bare minimum for a functional adult. It's not an optional chore that you can forego once you obtain a wife appliance. I mean, get married. He felt that he was being a top-notch supportive husband because he bought the occasional snack and attended appointments regarding the health and development of his child. But doing a load of laundry so your heavily pregnant wife gets a tiny break? No, that's way too much commitment. I'm happy that he wised up, because it would have been true hell for his wife having to care for the chores and the baby alone while being called lazy if she tried to get her husband to do just the smallest thing around the house. Orba says, I just want to say that everybody should get educated before choosing to get pregnant. For me, the biggest what the hell moment was reading that the pregnant body starts to loosen the joints to prepare for birth, but does so several months in advance. Meaning pregnant women have a harder time getting a tight grip with their hands, elbows and knees go whichever way they like, ankles become life-threatening. I am a clumsy person by nature, but while pregnant, I dropped my food and drinks often. I walked into things daily, and I tripped and fell down several times. Niv727 says, quote, she seems perfectly capable of doing all the other chores. My point is, she doesn't seem that exhausted except for when it's time to do the chores. So, is she doing the chores or not doing them? You were able to do all the other chores without being tired, so clearly you're lying about being tired to do these chores. Red Rose Beetle replies, I don't think he has a concept of pregnancy time. She might have been easily doing some chores 1 to 2 weeks ago, and now it's an issue for her to do more, but the pregnancy keeps progressing, so she has more and more issues come up. And yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good one to end the post on there. I'm very much happy that OP has come to the light and has seen that, yeah, he was being a bit of a blind asshole here. I can see how a promotion at work can definitely blind you to what's happening in front of your eyes because you want to focus on that. Like, yeah, that's your livelihood. That's keeping you guys going. But she's 7 months along, and yeah, she has more and more issues coming up day to day. Thank God he was able to snap back into reality and not crash and burn that relationship because, Jesus Christ, can you imagine? Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think of this one down in the comments below. Our next post is by user, the Hermit of Carcosa, titled, I met my wife's boyfriend, and I felt like a guest in my own home. This weekend, I met my wife's new boyfriend. I have a lot of feelings about it, and although my wife listened to me, she literally said, I don't know how to respond to your concerns, and that ended the conversation. To set the stage, this was not our first time meeting the other's partners. I have met a now ex-boyfriend of hers, and she met my current girlfriend. In both cases, we went out to lunch in public and had a friendly getting-to-know-you conversation, did a second activity, and then parted ways. There was no touching between anyone during the initial meetings. It was just a friendly Hinge chat to introduce metas. This weekend, my wife had invited her boyfriend over for breakfast and didn't prep for it at all. She was in bed minutes before he arrived and sent me to the stores to buy everything that we needed. I said that we should go out at that point, but she said she wanted to cook. When I got home, he was already in my house with my wife in the master bedroom while she was getting ready. This made me tense because we had never had other people in our bedroom before, and my wife had previously marked it as her hard boundary. I was nervous about meeting this guy because we had a 3-way phone call a month ago, and I wasn't digging his personality. And now I was on edge because of the groceries, because she wasn't ready, and because he was in my space. The guy comes out of my bedroom, and he's wearing a full suit and tie while I'm in t-shirt and jeans. I perceive this as an odd choice and a power imbalance. My wife later told me that he always wears suits, but that literally is not true, because after breakfast he changed clothes to go on a date with her and ended up in a t-shirt and jeans. We sit down at the table and my wife starts cooking. Already, this is uncomfortable to me because the hinge is missing from our conversation. Previously, we sat down at a table together, but my wife was effectively uninvolved in me meeting him for the first time, just occasionally chiming in while cooking, and we didn't really vibe. We'd ask each other a question or two, and then it would peter out until a new topic came up. When the conversation died down, the boyfriend just spews sexual comments, saying that he wants to bend her over the kitchen table right now, that she should stop cooking and suck our dicks, asking if we want to jump into a threesome right now, etc. When we previously spoke on the phone, this is part of what made me uncomfy because the conversation was going well until he hyperfixated on sex and any other conversation broke down. I had previously conveyed this to my wife after the call, but I'm ashamed to say I didn't stand up for myself. I have difficulties saying what I want in the moment. I was also trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I didn't want to be too aggressive when meeting him for the first time. My wife sits down with plates of food, and the guy asks if he can sit next to her. We have a square table with a chair on each side. He picks up his chair and sat on the same side of the table as her, which was super weird to me, and it made me uncomfortable. My wife later insisted he always does this. My beef is that I felt like he didn't view this as an opportunity to meet me, he viewed it as a date with my wife, and also I was there. After the plates were put away, I went to the bathroom and came back to them making out in the kitchen. This was my first time visually seeing my wife with another person, and I was fine with it. But then, as I started doing the dishes, he pushed her down on the couch and fully got on top of her, making out and groping her. My wife said no and pushed him off, so he went to the bathroom. At this point, I talked to my wife and said that her boyfriend was making me extremely uncomfortable in my own home, and that I wanted him to tone it down. He walked up behind me, having gone in the hall, but not actually gone to the bathroom, and said, "Oh, don't mind me, I'm not eavesdropping." I asked my wife to meet me in private to express my frustration. She said that this is just how he is. I said we didn't talk about boundaries for this meeting, that I assumed it would be like the other two meetings that we've had, in the second paragraph, and that many of the things that he's done has crossed lines for me and made me feel uncomfortable in my house. She says to give her a minute and she'll take care of it. I return to the kitchen and he's changing clothes. He's brought all his clean laundry in a suitcase and was cycling through outfits, asking my wife what she thought of each. I later told my wife that that was extremely weird to me, especially since she went out there with the intent to tell him to tone it down. She said the alternative was that she and he go into the bathroom while he changes. Fast forward, they leave to go on their date. I stay busy the rest of the day and can't get a hold of my wife from noon to midnight. I go to bed, having asked her to check in 3 times. Called her, no response. At 4 a.m., she woke me up to ask if he could spend the night because they had been out until 3:30 a.m. and it was an hour's drive back to his house. I said no because we had planned a full day just for us the next day. My wife went out to talk to him, then he came back and said that he was too tired to drive and asked me to reconsider. I'm barely awake, so I begrudgingly say fine. My wife promises not to stay out so late again, and we go to bed, and boyfriend sleeps in the guest room. My wife and I had planned to go to breakfast, but had to put that on pause because the boyfriend hadn't woken up by 10 a.m. I say that we can get drive-through breakfast, and my wife sends me out alone because she doesn't want to wake him up in the house by himself. She tells me that he'll be gone by the time that I get back. At 10:45, I get home and he's still there. My wife comes down and makes him coffee because we didn't get him anything, because he was supposed to be gone already. I told my wife point blank I wanted him to leave because this was our day together and we already had to change plans because of him. She said that would be rude, and we still had the whole rest of the day just us. He ended up staying until noon. He didn't say a word to me as he sat at the table drinking coffee, and then he just fist bumped me goodbye. When he finally left, my wife asked how I thought it went. I expressed everything I described here. I told her his personality made me uncomfortable, he ignored me, made me feel like a guest in my house, I didn't appreciate him spending the night, etc., etc., etc. My wife said, "Well, thank you for being honest. I don't know how to respond to your concerns. It's important to me that you like him. I need to think about this." And shut the conversation down for now so that we could focus on our planned day. I don't know how to handle all of this. I do not like this man. Yeah, I'm getting like terrible vibes from this guy as well. He just has absolutely no respect for you guys. Also, how unhinged is it to just bring an entire suitcase worth of clothes to just continually cycle through and try out on a first date, first meeting thing and turn up to the house in a suit? Like, that sets the tone for someone that I'm like, you are not right in the head. What is going on here? Opie, honestly, if I was in your situation, I'd be saying, kick this man to the curb, let's block him, let's say, hey, it was fun, but, not feeling the vibes here, buddy. Anyway, in the comments, Rosephase says, wife, he isn't welcome in my home or around me. Date him elsewhere, and do not invite us both to the same places. I'm so sorry that you went through that. It sounds awful. I would be super worried that your wife does not seem to care about that at all, about how insanely rude her choices were, and how gross and out of line he was being. I would be clear that if she cannot figure out how to have guests in ways that don't violate your safety and comfort in your own home, that she is no longer welcome to have guests. And if she has no concern for how meeting metas goes for you, that you do not want to meet them anymore. She is honestly such a jerk in this situation. I can't imagine that this is the only time she is selfish and has no empathy for you. Pink Fingo says, OP, so much this. I'm amazed that you managed to control yourself so well during all of this. Please make it blatantly clear to your wife that he is no longer welcomed in your home and enforce that boundary. I can't imagine having my safe place shit on so badly. There were so many instances of that's just how he is. Well, how he is kinda sucks. And the part with the outfit changes. She said the alternative was that she and he go into the bathroom while he changes. No, the alternative is that he go in a room by himself and get dressed like a big boy. This is where I would have ended the night. That's how he is not a valid excuse for shitty behavior. Nope, nope, nope. Worrisome Specimen says, wait, this guy made a choice that morning to put on a whole suit, then pack a change of clothes, then change down into a t-shirt and jeans right after breakfast because he was going out? Wow, I don't know what flex that's supposed to say other than, I'm incredibly unhinged. That whole thing was wild. Don't let this disturbed man back into your house. Tell your wife you'll have nothing to do with him, though her behavior throughout your post is troubling. I'm so sorry. What an unsettling and stressful experience. Quote, incredibly unhinged. I know that was probably unintentional, but he is unhinged because the wife is absolutely not a good hinge. She's not even hinging badly, basically just doing nothing at all. And now onto the update, titled, Everyone met my wife's boyfriend and fears for her safety. A lot has happened since my last post. Using the advice that I got from r/polyamory, I set a clear boundary with my wife that I did not want to interact with her boyfriend again and that he was not welcome in the house while I was there. I expressly stated how uncomfortable he made me with specific examples. I used a lot of advice that folks gave here and I came to an understanding. True to form, I have not seen boyfriend since then. And then things got worse. I was out of town for the weekend and my wife had boyfriend over for 2 whole days. In that time, he met our 2 housemates and made them both extremely uncomfortable. He met my girlfriend's parents and made them extremely uncomfortable. And he and my wife had loud sex in the guest room at 2 a.m. and kept our roommate awake when she had work the next day. The roommate interrupted them because it was keeping her awake, and this was after they had set a house rule that they would not do this because it already happened once before. On Sunday morning, while I was away, I woke up to angry text messages from both our roommates describing what they called serial killer behavior. Both said they were furious and extremely uncomfortable. Interesting to me is they both described the same pretend to go to the bathroom to cover eavesdropping in the hallway thing I described in the previous post. This made me upset as I obviously wanted my housemates to feel safe. On my way home on Sunday, my mother-in-law called to say that she had Father's Day brunch with my wife and her new boyfriend, and he made the whole extended family extremely uncomfortable, such that they don't want to interact with him again. This was extremely irritating because my wife did not tell me that she intended to introduce the boyfriend to her family at all, which is also my family because of marriage and estrangement to my bio family. At this point, I say enough is enough. I had been texting my housemates and called a house meeting as soon as I got home. My roommate, who was kept awake, started by saying, "I hate this man. I never want to see him again. I am politely asking that you do not let him back in the house at all." Then my next roommate said something very similar, as did I. My wife asked if we all feel this way. I said, "Everyone you have introduced him to feels this way. Everyone." Realizing how badly the weekend had gone for everyone else, and that brunch hadn't gone as well as she thought, my wife was taken aback. As many people here on Reddit said, both my roommates said the boyfriend terrifies them, that he acts like a serial killer, and that they are concerned for her safety. My wife said, "Yeah, that's what I like about him." We went around stating what he had done to make us uncomfortable, and my wife started to shut down. She didn't try to defend him. She didn't say anything. She stopped responding until finally one of our roommates asked if she had anything to say. She said she wished we had told her this sooner because she had just said, "I love you" to him earlier that day, which was news to me. She asked why nobody had told her sooner, and the answer was that he was attached to her hip for 2 days, and he looks over her shoulder to read all of her phone messages. After a lot of discussion, my wife agreed that she would not bring her boyfriend around if anyone was at the house. She said that probably means he won't come back to the house at all. She also said that she wouldn't ask anyone to leave so he could come over, and that he wasn't invited to parties. Except that she had already invited him to an upcoming party at our house next weekend, and she wasn't strong enough to uninvite him, but also that she's afraid that everyone at the party will hate him and be made uncomfortable. Moreover, she told me that she's going to continue seeing him. While I understand this, it also made me a little sad. 2 weeks ago, she had said that if I ever hated one of her partners, then she and that person would not be compatible. At this point, her best friends, her husband, and her parents were saying they never want to see this man again, and that they are afraid for her safety, and she no longer seemed bothered. I don't know what is going to happen next. I am sincerely hoping he does not come to the party next week, and my roommates and my mother-in-law have each individually shared that they are afraid he is going to try to kill either my wife or me. In the comments, Xeno by Switch says, "Nope. He doesn't come to the house, period. Even if no one's there. Cancel the party. Seriously. Schedule another one later that he is not invited to. Also, make it a really hard boundary. If she brings him to the house, or invites him to, or brings him to an event there, it is a relationship ender. I doubt he wants to come to this party. His goal is probably to sever her from her support system by convincing her everyone hates him irrationally, and it is the two of them against the world. This, cancelling the party, sends a clear message. You are serious. You are scared of this guy, and she should be too. She can get a dom. She doesn't need an actual tragedy. You believe this so hard that you won't risk him showing up, even if uninvited. Get the lawyers and start collecting information right now. Who cares if she doesn't feel strong enough to uninvite him? He's not allowed in your house. You don't want it. Roommates don't want it. If he comes, don't let him in. Period. Call the cops if he won't leave. If you fear for your safety, it's time to consider if your wife is a safe partner to be with. It's okay to say I love you, but I don't feel safe being with you if you're with him. You can't save her if she's willing to walk into a bad situation. You don't have to follow her into one either. I really like this advice. OP's wife will have to think long and hard about living somewhere else. Perhaps there is some mind control thing going on and she doesn't see it, or she's on a psychotic break given all the positives of their marriage prior to Crazy Man showing up. Your boyfriend seems like a serial killer. Yeah, that's what I like about him. Yikes on bikes. Let me clarify. Not a sexy in a dangerous way vibe. I mean bodies under the floorboards, wearing a skin suit. Okay, how about this? If he can get to, he seemed like a nice quiet man, at least he'll be an improvement before he chops us up and stashes us in the woods and/or freezer. I'd be deeply concerned about why the wife is self-sabotaging to the point she's getting her rocks off on the idea of this dude killing her. This man obviously is intentionally making everyone uncomfortable and loves every second of it. This is going to go terribly and possibly end his marriage. That marriage is doomed. She clearly wants this man more than she wants anything else. I'm sitting here thinking, you can still cheat on your partner in a polyamorous relationship. That's what this seems like to me. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.